Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of Tech Stack Reimagined. Trying something different today. We've got new platforms while also trying to organize all of what's been done in terms of content. Here with Nico. How you doing today, man?
Doing very well, sir. Doing very well. Per usual, maximizing my screens to, to be able to ensure that all this is running. So I've got LinkedIn over here. I got YouTube up here. I've got another LinkedIn down here, and I got the other LinkedIn over there. While we have this in the middle, just to make sure everything is running fine and dandy. Didn't have this capability before, but 2025. On top of just quite literally kicking ass and taking names when it comes to bottoming out software problems. I think the number one thing I love to hear from people on a weekly basis is like some software issue that's plaguing them, because it just pops like immediately. My mind is just like, oh, okay, let me just write that down so I can just build that later this afternoon. And it's like, we'll make that a reality, make that happen. So yeah, my latest venture is data quality, you know, and data quality is such a big deal. And everybody needs it taken care of, and everybody needs their data, fixed in a lot of different ways, especially, I think most especially when it comes to formatting. I think is like one of the bigger ones where people tend to basically, it's that the pain in the ass of going through and figuring out like, oh, okay, what does this acronym relate to, and is that the right state, and is this the right way that we should be um, um, organizing things, right? So, given that that's a big deal, and that it's a big problem, and that it's kind of like everybody's problem, uh, taking it upon myself to, build out a data quality tool that hopefully sort of like fixes all of those issues. Obviously, love to do the one foul swoop deal as well. So pretty much everything is like as push button as possible. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to putting this one out there. It's going to be a freebie because the whole thing is just going to run pretty much on algorithms. But what is the few things that are going to leverage OpenAI model, it'll be connected to my GPT. And again, the few things that do leverage AI, the token the token ask is so tiny in terms of what data is getting updated. I'm already running another application that uses way more tokenage than this ever probably will. And yeah, it's just the cost on what I'm running in the background is, I think, up until now. So I've been like running with this thing for about 2 months now. I think it's cost me 250. Right. And I think I've burned through like, again, like it's, you can do the math because you can go look at the prices. It's like 10 million tokens in, 8 million tokens out. Like, I don't know, something like that. Um, so in other words, the cost is so negligible to me that I don't give a shit. I'm already paying for my server space anyway. So that's the only thing that really needs to host it. The scripts are running all the algos, so it's not even that big a deal. Um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to dropping that one next week. Seriously excited about it because also been playing around with not necessarily new tools, but the same tools in a new way. So came across, uh, I shouldn't say came across, but kind of just like dug further, took it one step further with Visual Studio yesterday, and started getting into custom models within Visual Studio. So even though you can use like GPT-5 and Grok and all these other models, you can actually create these Git files that the VS model or your Git model reads. So you have like Git Copilot. It's actually looking for those files right out the gate. Even if you don't have them in place, it would otherwise be looking for them. if you have them in place, it goes to them immediately. And these Git files are amazing because you can put custom instructions in there, progress files in there, like all sorts of stuff that like really helps to minimize the amount of time that the model is spending trying to figure out the project you're working on. Um, Quite literally, there's this like instruction set that you can ask it to build. I swear this is recent because I didn't see this before. Um, and I see it now in there like every time I open up a chat window, and it's amazing. So that's kind of taking the game to the next level, and then doing the custom model aspect of things also absolutely helps to take things to the next level because um, it's yeah, like, and I can just
So I've been, as Nico has continued to talk about this for many months at this point, I've been wondering how either I was gonna start doing it myself or actually like start doing it to try and solve, you know, uh some of the challenges I've had, you know. And it feels like I'm finally at that point. Um and we're looking at your LinkedIn right now. Uh
oh,
just so you know. Um and we're also trying out some new software today. Uh
very good.
Streamlabs. Um to see if we can have a little more fun with streaming different screens and making it easier to follow along. Because I think a lot of what we're going to show today is just the ability to um, have multiple streams of work happening at the same time, right? And we've talked about it plenty of times before, but this is where, like, let's say if we're just talking about software engineering or app development, this
Mhm.
world of needing to focus on one thing at a time, like, is over uh, when you're utilizing these tools effectively, because the person with all the expertise, let's say that engineer, if you really only want them to focus on one thing, then those are the moments where we're seeing a lot of cutbacks. And how do we save time if this thing is our only focus, or we can't get to that part of the roadmap yet, or all the reasons that people just try to pare back instead of realize more value from the one person that could be working on 5 things, 10 things, like, at a time, because they are utilizing all this agentic activity to get things going. And then, like, it's getting better and better at being able to do that. Um, so this is my attempt today to kind of experience some of that. Maybe this will be the moment that I start to, spin up my own Replit account or something like that. Or
I hope
I
so.
doubt it because I have access. Uh, um, I'm trying hard, either subconsciously or consciously, not to like learn it all right now, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
um, because a lot of the challenges of AI adoption is not like products and feature sets, and a lot of it's just sharing and building trust milestones with people and trying to figure out how to talk about it in a way that even when you don't, um, even when you do show somebody how easy it is to do something,
Yeah.
there's still like, oh, it's not going to work for my situation, or I got to do it this way. And whenever I try to do it that way, I don't get good outputs. Like, trying to overcome those really, like, basically the irrational side of humans and how they want things to work versus just letting go the time, right? Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, article's not getting posted unless it happens through this process, right? I'm not going to go back and write it myself or pay somebody else to do it. It's either getting created this way or it's not getting created at all, right? And I think um that's a gap like for a lot of folks when they focus on time savings and, efficiency, 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 like instead of what could we do, right? And that's where
Mhm.
watching and Replit has been always been fascinating. And we'll see what we can do today in terms of this longstanding problem for me, which is erring on the other side of like create, 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 and not necessarily like organize and make it consumable and searchable and discoverable. YouTube can only do so much for you, and especially when everything's live, it's like a completely different channel on YouTube,
Yeah.
which you know first started discovering that when I started working with Agent AI. And there's like these ready-made tools like, oh, just go get the transcript on YouTube, like just use this tool, like push this button, and then it'll start getting YouTube stuff. That wasn't working. And it took a minute to figure out why. And it's because there's basically on demand,
Mhm.
like YouTube, where you do the thing beforehand and then you upload the video, and then there's live YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And like once you go into your YouTube studio, it's like, duh. I mean, they're on 2 separate tabs. Like, YouTube treats it differently in a lot of ways, and that's where my whole motion of doing things a little bit differently on LinkedIn, a little bit differently on YouTube is now, like, with the when the models are trained on how the rest of the free world does it, right?
I like that.
That's the troubleshooting. That's, like, I don't get to, you know, enjoy the all of the tools and apps that have already been created. So, not that I'm trying to justify my lack of like having this ready, and really repurposing it in this way,
Yeah.
but this is the sacrifice made because I chose to go live on LinkedIn in a different way every day and then just stream over to YouTube because it's there and it's going to be easier to find than it is on LinkedIn. Not a
Mhm.
ton easier, but a little bit easier because YouTube's built for that, but it's not built for that,
Right.
right? Keep finding those moments. And that's where AI can help once you give it the direction. But it's like a completely different set of, tokens and variables and all the things that aren't necessarily built in. So I'm excited to try and build that out today, with you. And I've got some sheets. But so how do you, before we dive in, like I know you always talk about how it's not just Nico going to Replit and being like, I want this, and then just exclusively working in Replit to get it done. Like, what is the prep? As I describe that problem and the solves, I want an app that is the repository of all my YouTube content that makes it discoverable and searchable and keeps it organized and keeps it up to date so that anybody can come in and find what they need. Um, and that's the output, right? How do you
Okay.
start to get ready for that? I know I could go. This is where the times I've tried Replit is I'm hearing
Mhm.
how easy it is, and then I go do that with Replit, and you know, uh, it it doesn't it doesn't work out as
No.
easily as everybody says it does.
Yeah,
Right.
and I can understand, like, that it doesn't, and I can also kind of understand why. Um, part of part of it is what we've talked about, before with others, that, working with AI tools, and the reason why we say, like, work with them as a person is because it really is, like, you know, you start to basically understand, like, yeah, it's a team that you're working with in order to get something done. It's not necessarily just the one tool to solve them all. even though you are using this team to build those consolidation tools, right? So, um, you know, where do we start? It's kind of awesome, and it's really really awesome when you say that to me, because my team used to just consist of like maybe one or two wide, where it was like Replit plus one or two other generative AI tools, um, just in terms of like doing the logistics of it and doing the logistics of building out the app. And then of course you have like Suno if you wanted to add sound to whatever you're doing, or you have like Midjourney if you want to add art to whatever you're doing. But you know, basically you start with the program basics. So I can say that, like, again, I just want to preface this by saying that I don't know jack shit about coding. I have no background in coding, no background in programming, no background in development. So everything I say could absolutely be wrong, and I'm sure that a developer will pull their hair out at watching this episode. That all said, um, while I may not know what I'm doing, I know how to ask for what it is that I want to do, right? And then at the same time, what that's so that ends up being where people stop and don't go one step further. And the whole point of like the four tenets is like you have to take it one step further. Excuse me. So you take it one step further than that, you know what you want. The model you're working with isn't necessarily going to be built out to do exactly what it is that you want. So even if you're using Replit, you're still kind of talking to an open faced GPT, especially if you don't give it any sort of files to go off of. Even if you don't give it like visual files to go off of, is like, you know, you're just giving it a text description. Yeah, we're really shooting in the dark, right? And like the text description had better be really good, the context had better be amazing, and you better have like some sort of like programming language in there, maybe, to really help guide the ship. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to kind of end up with this sort of abomination of an application that you then spend, you know, $15, $20, $30 massaging the hell out of until it gets to like looking something like what you wanted. So again, it used to be just like a couple layers deep. Now it's actually 3 layers deep, and probably going to stay permanently 3 layers deep. So the first place I start is Perplexity, actually. And what I like to do is go and look at, let me pull this up. Basically, I like to go and research whatever it is that, not necessarily whatever it is we're trying to do, but like, so first off, we'll build a space because we're doing a new idea or a new application or whatever it is. And we'll call this, LBM, media handler. Okay. And, scraping together ideas, methods for handling content distribution. Okay. And so then we're actually going to go over to GPT. You know, like, it's a good thing this is recorded. I'm gonna redistribute it because yeah, I don't like to go slow. It is what it is. So keep up. Um, go over to GPT. I've posted this before, but you know, go look for it. Custom prompt and instruction designer. So why that? Because we actually have settings in here, and we can actually give instructions. So give instructions of Perplexity to customize how answers are focused and structured. So we're doing here. Hey, buddy, I'm working on a new project, and I need to do some research for it. And the specific research is related to how it is that I can build a multimedia application where it takes content that I have that maybe I've live streamed, and it records that live stream, uh, takes that recording and then cuts it up into clips, and takes the audio, turns that into a podcast, and uses the audio and transcripts it so that it can then create a blog, and then takes like images from the video and like clips of that basically, and turns that into an email, and then also like adds all of that content to my website. So what I'm looking for in particular is I'm working with Perplexity, and so I want some custom instructions for how the answers should be structured for what it is we're doing. So basically, giving Perplexity like as much context as possible to what it is that we're doing, so that it understands that this is what we're looking for in the answers that it brings back. So like Perplexity is awesome because it's just great open search and it's amazing at what it can search for, but it's a nuclear missile of search, right? So it does a great job, but and